Hello and welcome back to the first unit in the course Foundations of Management and Entrepreneurship. We have already done 3 lectures on this. This is the 4th and the last one. In the first 3 lectures we have covered the meaning of management, principles of management, functions of management, managerial roles, different levels of management, what are the skills required for being an effective manager, and what is the social responsibility of an organization. Now, in this session we are going to look at what are the ethics and values in management, whether an organization has a social responsibility, how a corporate conducts itself, which is basically the corporate governance, and finally we try to distinguish between management and administration. Stephen Covey said, and I quote, "What you do has far greater impact than what you say." Managers should be more of action oriented people than just talking about great things. Managers should be examples by themselves. They are the leaders who will inspire their entire workforce so that their organization is able to deliver what it intends to serve in the society. Now, while doing so, whether an organization and its managers should follow or practice certain basic values and ethics. The answer is yes. Organization should have ethics and values which are consistent to its business objectives, its value system, and also conform to the society in which they are a part. Now, business ethics can be described as a systematic study of moral and ethical matters pertaining to business, industry, or related activities, institutions, or practices and beliefs. Now, business or corporate ethics also is a form of applied ethics or professional ethics that examines ethical principles and moral or ethical problems that arise in a business environment. It applies to all aspects of conduct of business and is relevant to the conduct of individuals as well as the entire organization. In essence, what we are talking about is business ethics addresses concepts of morality such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, justice and crime in the functioning of an organization as well as the individuals. In a sense, business ethics deals with what is morally right and wrong behavior in the conduct of business. It is a question of values, fairness, justice, and equity in the day-to-day functioning of the organization as well as individuals. It deals with the application of moral standards by persons who are working in the organization, and it also deals with the moral standards that are not separate but derived from the society. Do managers face ethical challenges in their functioning? Yes. Just think of instances when a manager faces ethical dilemmas in day-to-day functioning. I give you a few examples where these dilemmas or challenges are quite evident. When an organization is advertising for its products, it would like to show the best of its products, but the dilemma is whether that is the realistic nature of the product itself. Organizations source a lot of inputs for the processing within the organization. Now, what if the suppliers of the company are either underpaying or employing some minors or involved in production processes that are damaging the environment? When you are aware of these kinds of things, should you source your inputs from such companies even if they are offered at a lower price? As a manager, you will face dilemmas whether you can access the private emails of the employees which they must have transacted during the company's time, or should you keep an eye on the websites which are being accessed by the employees during the working hours? You will face an ethical dilemma in terms of the safe working practices for the employees in the community, because safe working practices also cost money. Should you save money for the organization at the cost of employees' well-being and the community disservice? Are you paying the salaries and wages equitably among the employees? An example of this would be, in certain companies, in certain countries, the top management draws unfairly large packages compared to the median salaries or the lower salaries of the organization. Now, if the employees are not equitably paid and the top management is involved in enriching themselves, then there is an ethical dilemma. In product pricing, organizations usually face dilemmas: what is the right and ethical way of pricing? When communicating with the stakeholders, managers face ethical dilemmas in disclosing or non-disclosing certain kinds of information. These are some examples of areas where managers face some issues of ethics. This is not exhaustive. There could be many other situations. Now, why organizations or the individuals who are working in the organizations, managers, end up in being unethical or not practicing the values? One of the reasons is the pressure on the managers to meet unrealistic business goals, objectives, or the delivery deadlines. The second reason could be an unrealistic desire, or should we say greed, on the part of some managers to further their own career. The third probable reason is a desire to protect one's job or say livelihood. Well-managed companies have their own code of conduct for their employees, which specify the values and ethics dear to the company, which they must have practiced for years. And the company expects all managers should strictly follow and abide by such code of conduct. Remember, trust is the cornerstone of ethical leadership. A manager, by means of his managerial practices, should not only be trustworthy, he should also be seen to be trustworthy. Now, what are the various steps in decisions in decision making ethically, or let us say what are the steps in ethical decision making? A manager should assess the situation from different perspective, whether the decision is legal, whether it is ethical, whether it is fair and equitable. If the answer to any one of them is negative, then the manager should rethink about the decision he or she is contemplating. Identify the stakeholders and consider the situation from their perspective. A particular decision may please one set of the stakeholders, while it may be not so in the case of the other set of stakeholders. Then you need to resolve this dilemma before a final decision is made. Evaluate the alternatives available and how they affect the stakeholders in terms of consequences, your own duties, rights and principles, implications for personal integrity and character. If you are making unethical decisions, it not only harms your organization, it also reflects on your character, which is the hallmark of a good manager. Now, you should also be concerned about how does the action that you contemplate make you feel about discussion with your boss or with a neutral third party. If you are in a dilemma ethically and morally, it is always advisable that you go and discuss this matter with your superior or with a third party in whom you have got the trust. You must know where your values have a limit beyond which you cannot move forward. If the company has some notified rules and regulations, you must follow them. You must monitor the outcomes of the decisions you are making, and if there is any violation of the code of conduct as practiced in your organization, you must be willing to accept and take corrective action. Having talked about the ethical and moral dilemmas of a manager, let us look at what are the corporate social responsibilities when you are running a corporation. CSR, as it is commonly referred to, is about how companies manage the business processes to produce an overall positive impact of the society. It is not enough for a company to make money or profits. It should also be having a positive image in the society, therefore you have to care for it. Now, what are the 10 most important motivators for companies to drive their CSR initiatives? These are the economic considerations, because it has been found that companies which are considered to be socially responsible have been more successful. They are able to increase their businesses by about 30% and their employees are more satisfied. So, if your company is seen to be socially responsible, your employees take pride in your organization and the society supports you by consuming your products and services. The organizations are also driven by the ethical considerations. You should be not only be ethical, you should also be seen to be ethical by way of your actions. Then ethical organizations are organizations which are socially responsible, have higher appetite for innovation and learning. They drive, such initiatives drive employee motivation. Such organizations take more risk, or they are better at managing their risks because of enhanced employee engagement. Access to capital or increased shareholder value is another motive for organizations to practice CSR. When you are repetitively following CSR initiatives, or when you are practicing corporate social responsibility, the organization's reputation and its brand value goes up in the society. As a consequence, you will be able to improve your market position and your market share as well. Organizations which are socially responsible attract better suppliers, and their ability to manage supplier relationships are good. Although in the initial years, corporate social responsibility appears to be an additional cost, over a period of time, the companies which are able to practice the social responsibility or who are socially responsible have in fact saved costs instead of increasing their costs. CSR reporting measures basically are related to economic, social and environmental performance impacts of an organization. These are commonly referred to as triple bottom line or TBL, and today organizations are required to report their performance on all these three dimensions, namely the economic impact, the social impact and the environment impact of the company's performance. Now we move on to corporate governance. Now corporate governance has got many definitions. Despite considerable debate for over 2 decades plus, there is no single globally accepted definition for corporate governance. Let's examine some of the definitions which are popular as far as corporate governance is concerned. Corporate governance is to conduct the business in accordance with the owners or shareholders' desires while conforming to the basic rules of the society embodied in the law and local customs. This is given by the Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. The second definition is corporate governance is about promoting corporate fairness, transparency and accountability, which is given by Wolfensohn, the former president of the World Bank. Yet another definition is corporate governance is a field in economics that investigates how corporations can be made more efficient by the use of institutional structures such as contracts, organizational designs and legislation. This is often limited to the question of shareholder value, that is how the corporate owners can motivate and are secure that the corporation managers will deliver a competitive rate of return. Now to sum it up all, corporate governance may be defined as a set of systems, processes and principles which ensure that a company is governed in the best interest of the stakeholders. It is the system by which companies are directed and controlled to promote fairness, transparency and accountability. To put it in simple words, good corporate governance is good business. Now what are the ways we can ensure good corporate governance? We can ensure good corporate governance by adequate disclosures and efficient decision making in attainment of corporate objectives. We must have transparency in our business transactions. The company should follow all the statutory and legal compliances. The protection of interest of stakeholders should be paramount while governing the organization. An organization should be committed to the values and ethical conduct of businesses as it internally defines, which should be in consistency and embedded in the society in which it is a part. Now let us look at the distinction between management and administration. reflect on what is management and what is administration, whether both are same, are they different, if they are different, in what way are they different. To understand this, let us recap what we have defined management as. Management is the process of designing and maintaining an environment in which individuals working together in groups efficiently accomplish selected aims and or goals. Now, administration is defined as an overall determination of policies, the setting up of major objectives and laying out of broad programs in an organization. Now, if you look at these two definitions of management and administration, it would appear that administration is broader than management. Administration would appear to be a policy making function. What is a function? A function is a type of work activity that can be identified and distinguished from other work. So, therefore, we have now two perspectives. One, administration is broader than the management. The other, administration is a part of management. Now, there are arguments for and against each one of these perspectives. Management writers such as Teilhard, Sheldon, Pringle and Schulze have maintained that administration is broader than management. For Pringle, administration is largely determinative, whereas management is essentially executive. He viewed administration's role to be bigger than that of management. On the other hand, Breach, Henry Fayol, Kimball and Kimball viewed management as a wider concept than that of administration. From their perspective, management is rule making and rule enforcement body, and they considered administration as an implementing agency. Now, in both the management as well as in administration, you can have three different layers or three different levels. The first level or the junior level or the entry level, the middle level and the top level. Now, with these two diverse views on management versus administration, we now come to a third dimension or the third perspective where Newman, Kuhns, McFarland, Ernest Dale considered management and administration to be identical. They did not want to distinguish between the two. They considered that these two words can be used interchangeably. A manager, or for that matter an administrator, has to wear both the hats in order to be effective and successful in their roles. Now, this distinction between management and administration is fairly resolved by Peter Drucker when he suggested that management is applicable to business organizations, whereas administration is applicable to government offices, military establishments, social and cultural institutions and educational institutions. Now, let us elaborate a little more on the distinction between management and administration. The distinction is examined from 5 or 6 different viewpoints. First, let us look at the nature. Administration is a thinking function in terms of its nature. It talks about what and when, whereas management is a doing function which talks about who and how. The scope of administration is setting up of or determining broad objectives and policies for an organization. On the other hand, the scope of management is implementing the plans and achieving goals through the engagement of people and other resources. Administration is a top level function, whereas management is a middle and lower level function. Administration represents owners who invest capital and receive the surpluses of that capital generation. Management, on the other hand, involves paid individuals who work for a certain remuneration. Administration is used mainly in government, military, education, social and cultural organizations, whereas management is mostly used in business organizations. With that, we come to the end of first unit, and we will now move on to unit number 2. Before we move on to unit number 2, I would like you to answer certain questions and also think about certain situations that are going to be presented to you. Thank you.